in the heart of the bustling city, surrounded by the constant hum of traffic and the ceaseless buzz of urban life, there lived a man named Robert. Robert was a successful businessman, known for his dedication and hard work. But beneath his professional exterior, he felt a growing emptiness, a longing for something more. The city, once a symbol of his ambition, had become a source of endless noise and stress. He yearned for peace, a moment of tranquility away from the demands of his daily routine. One day, while sorting through his office papers, Robert stumbled upon an old postcard. It depicted a serene landscape with rolling hills, a crystal clear lake, and a quaint cabin nestled among the trees. On the back of the postcard, a handwritten note read, "Come find peace here, where time stands still." It was signed by his late grandfather, who had always spoken fondly of a hidden retreat in the countryside. Intrigued and inspired, Robert decided it was time for a change. He took a leave of absence from work, packed his essentials, and set out on a journey to find the place his grandfather had described. As he drove out of the city, the towering skyscrapers gradually gave way to open fields and lush forests. The air grew fresher, and the sounds of the city faded into the distance. After hours of driving, Robert arrived at a small village that seemed untouched by time. He parked his car and walked through the narrow streets, greeted by the friendly smiles of the villagers. Following the directions on the postcard, he continued on foot, his anticipation growing with each step. The path led him through a dense forest, where sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting a warm golden glow on the ground. Birds chirped melodiously, and a gentle breeze rustled the branches overhead. Robert felt a sense of calm wash over him, a stark contrast to the chaos he had left behind. Eventually, the forest opened up to reveal a breathtaking view. Before him lay a tranquil lake, its waters shimmering under the afternoon sun. On the far shore stood the cabin, just as the postcard had shown. It was a charming wooden structure with a thatched roof and smoke curling from the chimney. Robert crossed a small wooden bridge and approached the cabin. As he reached the doorstep, he noticed a weathered sign that read, "Welcome to Serenity." He couldn't help but smile at the fitting name. Pushing open the door, he stepped inside and was greeted by the cozy warmth of a crackling fireplace. The interior was simple but inviting, with rustic furniture and shelves filled with books and mementos from the past. As Robert settled in, he felt a profound sense of relief. The silence was soothing, broken only by the occasional crackle of the fire and the gentle lapping of the lake outside. He took a deep breath, inhaling the scent of pine and wood smoke, and felt the tension in his shoulders begin to melt away. That first evening, Robert sat by the fireplace, sipping a cup of herbal tea he had found in the kitchen. He reflected on his life, his achievements, and the relentless pace that had driven him to this moment. Here, in this peaceful retreat, he found the space to think, to breathe, and to simply be. As the night wore on, Robert fell into a deep, restful sleep, lulled by the sounds of nature and the crackling fire. He dreamed of his grandfather, who seemed to be guiding him on this journey to find inner peace. The next morning, he awoke feeling rejuvenated, ready to explore the beauty and serenity that surrounded him. With the first rays of dawn breaking through the cabin windows, Robert stretched and yawned, feeling a sense of renewal. He stepped outside, greeted by the crisp morning air and the soft chirping of birds. The lake was calm, its surface like glass, reflecting the golden hues of the sunrise. Robert decided to start his day with a walk around the lake. As he strolled along the shore, he marveled at the tranquility that enveloped him. The landscape was a tapestry of colors, with wildflowers blooming along the path and tall trees swaying gently in the breeze. He paused occasionally to take in the sights and sounds, feeling a deep connection to nature. As he continued his walk, Robert encountered an elderly man sitting on a bench, gazing out at the lake. The man had a kind face, with a gentle smile and eyes that sparkled with wisdom. Robert introduced himself, and the man responded with a warm handshake. "Welcome to Serenity," the man said. "I'm Thomas, the caretaker of this place. I've been here for many years, and I know every inch of this land." Robert thanked Thomas and shared his story, explaining how he had found the postcard and decided to seek out the peace his grandfather had described. Thomas listened attentively, nodding in understanding. "This place has a way of healing the soul," Thomas said. "Many come here seeking solace, and they leave with a renewed sense of purpose. Your grandfather was a wise man to send you here." Robert and Thomas spent the morning talking about the history of the cabin and the village. Thomas shared stories of other visitors who had found peace and inspiration in this tranquil setting. He also offered practical advice on how to make the most of Robert's stay. "The key to finding true serenity," Thomas said, "is to embrace the present moment. Leave behind the worries of the past and the uncertainties of the future. Focus on the here and now, and you'll discover a peace unlike any other." Taking Thomas's words to heart, Robert spent the next few days immersing himself in the beauty and simplicity of his surroundings. He hiked through the forest, kayaked on the lake, and spent hours reading by the fireplace. He practiced mindfulness, meditating on the sounds and sights around him, letting go of the stress and anxiety that had plagued him for so long. One afternoon, while exploring a hidden trail, Robert stumbled upon a small clearing with a stone bench. He sat down, closing his eyes, and listened to the symphony of nature, the rustling leaves, the distant call of an owl, and the gentle flow of a nearby stream. In that moment, he felt a profound sense of peace, as if the world had paused to allow him this precious time of reflection. As the days turned into weeks, Robert found himself transformed. The relentless drive for success that had once consumed him was replaced by a deeper appreciation for life's simple pleasures. He began to understand the importance of balance, of taking time to nurture his mind, body, and spirit. One evening, as the sun set behind the hills, casting a warm glow over the lake, Robert sat on the porch of the cabin, reflecting on his journey. He realized that the peace he had found in Serenity was not just a product of the place itself, but a state of mind he could carry with him wherever he went. Feeling a renewed sense of purpose, Robert decided it was time to return to the city. But this time, he would bring with him the lessons he had learned and the tranquility he had discovered. He packed his belongings, said goodbye to Thomas, and set off on the path that had brought him to this sanctuary. The drive back to the city was markedly different from Robert's initial journey to Serenity. This time, he wasn't fleeing from the chaos, but rather returning with a newfound sense of calm and purpose. The landscape around him seemed more vivid, and the journey itself felt like an extension of the peace he had found. When Robert finally reached the outskirts of the city, he noticed how the once overwhelming noise and hustle now felt more manageable. He was no longer a prisoner to his environment. Instead, he carried the tranquility of serenity within him. Returning to his apartment, Robert immediately set about making changes to his living space. He rearranged his furniture to create a more open and inviting atmosphere, added plants to bring a touch of nature indoors, and designated a quiet corner for meditation and reflection. His return to work was equally transformative. Robert approached his responsibilities with a newfound clarity and calmness that surprised his colleagues. He delegated tasks more effectively, took regular breaks to clear his mind, and made time for meaningful conversations with his team. The positive changes in his demeanor began to ripple through the office, creating a more harmonious and productive work environment. Robert also made a point to share his experiences and the lessons he had learned with those around him. He started a weekly mindfulness session at work, inviting colleagues to join him in meditation and reflection. These sessions quickly became popular, fostering a sense of community and shared purpose. Outside of work, Robert rekindled his relationships with friends and family, making time for meaningful connections and shared experiences. He organized weekend trips to the countryside, encouraging his loved ones to experience the peace and beauty he had found in serenity. One weekend, Robert invited a close friend, Sarah, to join him on a trip back to the cabin. Sarah had been going through a difficult time, and Robert hoped that a visit to serenity would provide her with the same solace it had given him. As they walked through the familiar forest path and arrived at the cabin, Sarah's face lit up with awe and appreciation. Over the course of the weekend, Robert shared his journey with Sarah, guiding her through the same experiences that had helped him find peace. They hiked, kayaked, and spent long evenings by the fireplace, talking about life and their hopes for the future. By the end of their stay, Sarah expressed a profound sense of gratitude and a newfound perspective on her own challenges. As the months passed, Robert continued to nurture the balance and serenity he had discovered. He made regular visits to serenity, each trip serving as a reminder of the peace that was always within reach. He also continued to inspire those around him, sharing his story and encouraging others to seek their own paths to tranquility. Robert's journey to serenity had started as a quest for peace, but it had become so much more. It had transformed his life, reshaped his priorities, and deepened his connections with others. He had learned that true serenity wasn't just a place, but a state of mind, a way of being that could be cultivated and shared. And so, as Robert sat on the porch of his apartment one evening, watching the city lights twinkle in the distance, he felt a profound sense of gratitude. He knew that no matter where life took him, he carried the peace of serenity within him, a guiding light in the midst of the world's chaos. In the weeks that followed, Robert found himself reflecting more deeply on the concept of serenity and how it had reshaped his life. He realized that the peace he had found wasn't a destination, but a continuous journey, one that required mindfulness and intentionality. Inspired by his transformation, Robert decided to document his experiences and the lessons he had learned. He began writing a book, A Journey to Serenity, hoping to share his story with a broader audience. Each chapter detailed his adventures, the wisdom imparted by Thomas, and the profound impact of nature on his well-being. As Robert wrote, he found that the process itself was therapeutic. It allowed him to revisit and solidify the insights he had gained, ensuring they became an integral part of his everyday life. The book also became a way for him to give back, offering guidance to those who might be struggling with the same pressures and stresses he had once faced. While working on his book, Robert continued to nurture the habits and practices that had brought him peace. He maintained a regular meditation routine, spent time in nature whenever possible, and prioritized meaningful connections with the people in his life. He also stayed in touch with Thomas, who had become a cherished friend and mentor. One evening, as Robert was nearing the completion of his book, he received a call from a publisher who had heard about his story through a mutual acquaintance. The publisher was intrigued and offered to help Robert bring his book to a wider audience. Excited and grateful, Robert accepted the offer, knowing that this was an opportunity to share the transformative power of serenity with others. With the publisher's support, A Journey to Serenity was soon published and quickly gained attention. Readers from all walks of life resonated with Robert's story, finding inspiration in his journey and practical advice for their own lives. The book became a bestseller, and Robert found himself invited to speak at conferences and workshops, sharing his insights on mindfulness, balance, and the pursuit of peace. Despite his growing recognition, Robert remained grounded in the principles he had learned in Serenity. He continued to visit the cabin regularly, using those moments to recharge and stay connected to the source of his tranquility. Each visit reminded him of the simplicity and beauty of life, reinforcing the lessons that had changed him so profoundly. Through his book and public speaking, Robert met countless individuals who shared their own stories of struggle and transformation. He was deeply moved by their journeys and found joy in offering guidance and support. These interactions enriched his life, reinforcing the idea that true serenity was not just about personal peace, but about creating a ripple effect that touched the lives of others. As the years went by, Robert's life continued to evolve, but the core principles he had discovered in Serenity remained constant. He built a life that was not only successful, but also deeply fulfilling, characterized by a balance between ambition and tranquility, connection and solitude, action and reflection. Robert's journey to serenity had not only changed his own life, but it also inspired countless others to seek their own paths to peace. He had learned that serenity was a gift meant to be shared, a guiding light that could lead anyone to a more fulfilling and harmonious life. And so, as he stood on the porch of the cabin one last time, looking out over the tranquil lake and the rolling hills beyond, Robert felt a profound sense of gratitude. His journey had come full circle, from the chaos of the city to the peace of serenity, and back again. He knew that no matter where life took him, he would always carry the essence of this place within him, a beacon of calm in a world that often seemed anything but serene.